Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to see about a kind of animal tissue. There are four types of animal tissues. They are nervous tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and epithelial tissue. In the previous class, I taught you about epithelial tissue, isn't it? Today, we are going to see about one of the most abundant and widely distributed tissue. What's that? You're going to find out. I'll give you a clue. What can you see in the picture? Building, isn't it? So, for constructing a building, what are all required? Bricks, rod, rocks, etc. Isn't it? Okay. Let me construct a building. For that, I'm going to construct a wall. So I'm arranging the brick one over the other. What happened after a while? It collapsed. Why it's collapsing? Yes, some important component is missing here. Can you guess what it is? Very good. Cementing material is missing. Without this cement, if I arrange the brick one over the other, there is no use, isn't it? The wall is not going to be strong enough. So I need some material which is hard enough, which could paste or make the wall strong. So the material cement is required for me. So the cement act as a binding material, supporting and packing material. So using the cement, of course, rod, rocks, etc., I am able to construct such a beautiful building, isn't it? So now this building is very strong. So this is made strong with the help of binding material cement. Okay. Now we were discussing about building only, isn't it? Now I am going to talk about a living material, that is a human body. How it is binded, how it is strong enough. So our body also needs a binding, supporting and packing material. What is that? A kind of tissue. So something is required to connect all the internal organs or all the body or bone with the muscle or muscle to the skin. So these are all connected to each other. They are not collapsing, isn't it? All our internal organs, even while you are exercising or putting yourself upside down, our internal organs are not getting collapsed. It is there in the fixed place. How? How come possible? So, some material is there in between which is binding all these organs together. What's that? Tissue. What tissue? Connective tissue. So, this connective tissue only helps to connect all the organs and all the parts of the body. Good. You have found the answer. So, today we are going to see about connective tissue. Okay, children, shall I proceed? Okay. These connective tissues are most abundant and widely distributed in the body of higher animals. So, these connective tissues are made up of three components. Cells. What is cell? That is, the cell is a structural and the functional unit of all the living organism, isn't it? So this cell, so the group of cell only make up the tissue. So we are discussing about the connective tissue. So the connective tissues are made up of what? Cells. Connective tissue cells. Matrix. What is matrix? That is jelly like substance present in between the cells, only we say it is matrix. So the Connective tissue is made up of matrix, connective tissue cells, and fiber. Fiber, can you notice a thread-like substance? Thread-like substance, and we say it is fiber. So these three important substances only make up the connective tissue. What are they? Come on, tell me. Matrix, connective tissue cells, and fibers. Okay, next we are going to see about the different types of connective tissue and their functions. There are four types of connective tissue. 1. Connective tissue proper. 2. Supportive connective tissue. 3. Dense connective tissue. And 4. Fluid connective tissue. Number 1. Connective tissue proper. It is of two types, areolar and adipose. Number 2. Supportive connective tissue is of two types, cartilage and bone. Number 3. Dense connective tissues of two types, tendons and ligaments. Number 4. Fluid connective tissue, blood and lymph. Let's see one after the other. First, connective tissue proper. What are coming under that? Areolar tissue and adipose tissue. First, areolar tissue. This areolar tissue is present beneath the skin, that is below the skin, and serve as a support framework for epithelium. We have already seen about this epithelial tissue, so you know what it is. So this areolar tissue, where it is present? Below the skin, and it is giving support to the epithelial tissue. So this areolar tissue fill the space inside the organs. It's present in the blood vessels, nerves, bone marrow, etc. So it has cells and fibers loosely arranged in a semi-fluid ground substance called matrix. It takes the form of fine threads crossing each other in every direction, leaving small spaces. Can you notice here? Excuse me. Can you notice here? Fine threads are crossing each other. Can you notice? That is what? Fibers. And this joins the skin to the muscles and fills the space inside the organs, and it is found around the muscles, blood vessels and nerves. So its main function is to repair the tissues. If there is any injury, that injury can be cured with the help of repairing of tissues. That is possible with this areolar tissue. And also it fixes the skin to the muscles. And next we are going to see about adipose tissue. This adipose tissue are spherical or oval in shape. And this is also one more type of loose connective tissue. Already we saw what? Areolar tissue. Areolar tissue as well as adipose tissue are said to be loose connective tissue. This is also present below the skin. And the cells of this tissue are specialized to store the fats. The excess of nutrients which are not used immediately are converted into fat and are stored in this tissue. So it is acting as a fat reservoir. And this is found between the internal organs around the heart and kidney, and they act as a shock absorber. Why? It means if any kind of shock comes to your body, that will be absorbed using this adipose tissue. So it is said to be a shock absorber. Okay, they can regulate our body temperature also. It's so that it acts as a good insulator. So this is about what? Adipose tissue. So adipose tissue is otherwise called shock absorber. It is found beneath the skin. So now the connective tissue proper is over. And next we are going to see about supportive connective tissue. The supportive connective tissue is of two types, cartilage and bone. So the supporting or skeletal connective tissue can protect various organs and help in the locomotion of our body. And this supportive tissue is including cartilage and bone. What's cartilage? The cartilage are soft bones. They are soft and flexible. And the matrix is composed of large cartilage cells called chondrocytes. So you would have noticed the bone in our ear, nose, trachea, larynx, etc. have got a soft bones. Why? They have got widely spaced cells and cheese like matrix is present in between, so that this kind of bones are soft in nature. So they are about, so these are all the bones which are very soft. So one cartilage is over, coming under supportive connective tissue. And next is bone. Bone, of course, you know, bones are strong enough or hard enough, isn't it? It is also called as osteocytes. Bone or osteocytes. It is solid, rigid and strong. It's not flexible like cartilage. Cartilage bones are flexible. Why? They have got wide space matrix in between. And here bone is very strong. It is non-flexible. So they are made up of skeletal connective tissue. And the matrix which is present in this bone are highly rich in calcium salt and collagen fiber. That's why the bone has got high strength. Why? It is made up of calcium and collagen fibers. Calcium and collagen fibers only give strength to the bone. It's a main tissue which is giving framework to the body, structure to the body. And this bone only protect the internal organs. Soft organs or internal organs are protected only with the help of bone. So this only gives proper shape to our body, that is framework to our body, and also it is giving protection to the internal organs. For example, rib cage is there giving protection to the lungs. And cranium is giving protection to the brain. Skull giving protection to the brain. In such a way, this bone is helping in the formation of structure to the body as well as protection to the internal organs. How many bones are present in our body? Yes, 206 bones are there in our body. So that's about the bone. Now supportive connective tissue is over. What are the two types of supportive connective tissue? Soft bone cartilage and bone. Bone is otherwise called osteocytes. Okay, next about bone marrow I want to tell you. The hollow cavities of spaces are filled with marrow. Inside the bone there is a hollow space and that is filled up with marrow, which is called as bone marrow. So this bone marrow only produces the blood cells. About blood cells I'll talk with you later. Next, dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissue are of two types, tendons and ligaments. Tendons and ligaments. So this kind of cells have got little matrix, and two types I told you. What are they? Ligament and tendon. This ligament and tendon are coming under dense connective tissue. Okay, and here first about tendon. The muscles are adhered to the bones with another type of tissue. What is that? Tendon. What's about tendon? They are cord-like, strong, structures that join skeletal muscle to the bone. Very important, children. Note it. These tendons are connecting skeletal muscle to the bone. The muscles which are around the skeleton are called as skeletal muscle. So skeletal muscles are connected to the bone with the help of tendons. The tendons have got great strength and limited flexibility. Okay, and next about ligament. These ligaments are highly elastic structures and have got more strength. This is connecting bone to a bone. One bone is connected to the other bone. For example, you take knee. Two bones are connected with the help of ligament. You are able to bend. So that is possible with the help of ligament. They are highly elastic. That's why you are able to bend. They contain very little matrix. They strengthen the joints and allow the normal movement. So we are able to move our joints, isn't it? It is possible only with the help of ligament. So the ligaments are connecting bone to a bone and tendons are connecting skeletal muscle to a bone. Am I clear, children? And next we are coming to fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue is of two types, blood and lymph. We are going to see about blood and lymph coming under the fluid connective tissue. The blood contains corpuscles which are red blood cell. Red blood cell is otherwise called as erythrocytes. Next, white blood cells. White blood cells are otherwise called leukocytes and platelets. So blood contain three kind of corpuscles. They are red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. These three are floating in the plasma, that is otherwise matrix. It is floating over the matrix. Remember, children, there are three kinds of blood. What are they? Red blood cell, white blood cell and platelets. First, about the red blood cells. Red blood cells or red blood corpuscles, otherwise called as erythrocytes. Otherwise called as erythrocytes. The red blood corpuscles are oval shaped, circular or biconcave disc-like cells. They don't have nucleus. When matured, okay, in a matured state, these red blood cells are not having nucleus. Why means that area will be filled up with the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a red pigment, that is respiratory pigment. It helps in the respiration. That means hemoglobin helps in the transporting of oxygen to the tissues. So it doesn't have nuclei. That is about the red blood corpuscle. And next, white blood corpuscle is otherwise called leukocytes. These leukocytes, white blood cells. Leukocytes are white blood corpuscles. They are larger in size and contain distinct nucleus, and they are not white actually, they are colorless. Okay, and they play an important role in the defense mechanism. It never allows any foreign body to enter into. Suppose if enters foreign body in the sense virus or bacteria, so any kind of microbe. If any kind of microbe invade into our body, that will be engulfed. Okay, that will be engulfed. That means engulfed means what? Destroyed with the help of white blood cells. Okay, and next is platelets. The platelets are minute anucleated, that means no nucleus, okay, and giant bone marrow. Okay, they are minute anucleated and fragile fragments of giant bone marrow. It is otherwise called as megakaryocytes. These platelets are otherwise called as megakaryocytes. What is the purpose? This is helpful in blood clotting mechanism. So blood platelets are helpful in blood clotting mechanism. It never allows the blood to ooze out if there is any state of danger. Okay, next, it clots the blood. Blood platelets are helpful in blood clotting. So we have seen about three kinds of blood. What are they? Red blood cell, white blood cell, and platelets. And then at last, lymph. Lymph is a colorless fluid. It is a colorless fluid, and it is consisting of plasma and white blood cells, and it mainly helpful in the exchange of materials between blood and tissue fluids. So this is a very important function. It is helpful in exchange of materials between blood and tissue fluids. Tissue as well as blood materials are exchanged with the help of lymph only. Okay, so this lymph is a colorless fluid which is filtered out of the blood capillaries. So lymph is a colorless fluid which is filtered out from the blood capillaries. So today we have discussed about the connective tissue. There are, listen children, connective tissues are most abundant and widely distributed tissue. It is giving proper shape to the body and support to the different tissues forming the organs. Four types of tissues we have seen. What are they? Connective tissue proper, under that areolar and adipose. Next, supportive connective tissue, cartilage and bone. Dense connective tissue, tendons and ligaments. And at last, fluid connective tissue, blood and lymph. Thank you.